This week, the Trump administration names a new White House Counsel, reports record arrests from its crime task force, and faces questions over a surging budget deficit. We examine offshore wind cancellation costs, alleged international tariff evasion facilitation, and a high-profile challenge to New York's Attorney General. President Trump has appointed Will Scharf, the current staff secretary, to serve as White House Counsel. Scharf will replace the outgoing counsel in the position. The White House Counsel serves as the president's chief legal advisor and oversees the administration's legal strategy on major policy initiatives, judicial appointments, and regulatory matters. The role has become increasingly prominent in recent administrations as legal disputes over executive authority and separation of powers have multiplied. Scharf's transition from staff secretary, a position traditionally focused on managing document flow, to the Oval Office, represents a shift in his responsibilities within the West Wing hierarchy. The appointment signals the administration's approach to legal strategy in its second term. The Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force marked its one-year anniversary Tuesday, having launched after President Trump declared a crime emergency in the nation's capital. The multi-agency effort deployed National Guard troops alongside federal, state, and local law enforcement. The task force attributed the apprehension of 35 homicide suspects, more than 100 gang members, and individuals connected to high-profile violent incidents to the operation. Mayor Muriel Bowser and other Democratic leaders objected to the National Guard deployment. Bowser told reporters the deployment was not legal for the National Guard to police Americans on American soil. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche stated the Department of Justice and law enforcement partners delivered extraordinary results. The task force continues operations with no announced end date. The federal government's monthly budget deficit reached $432.3 billion in July, the highest monthly level since March 2021. According to the Treasury Department, this represents a 48% increase from July 2024. The widening gap reflects surging mandatory spending on entitlements and debt service. Medicare spending jumped to $174 billion in July from $103 billion in June, while Social Security outlays totaled $141 billion and net interest payments on the national debt consumed $104 billion. The Treasury also distributed $33 billion in tariff refunds mandated by a Supreme Court ruling. Through the first 10 months of fiscal year 2025, the cumulative deficit has reached nearly $1.8 trillion. Debt servicing costs are now projected at $1.17 trillion for the full year, up 16% from the prior year. The Trump administration has paid RWE, the world's second largest offshore wind developer, more than $1.2 billion to abandon planned offshore wind farms in the Gulf of Mexico, along the coasts of New York and California. The canceled Gulf project was a 2,000-megawatt wind farm planned approximately 40 miles south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. It would have supplied electricity to hundreds of thousands of homes across the region. Under the agreement, RWE will instead invest $900 million in a Louisiana liquefied natural gas terminal and commit $300 million to natural gas turbines for new power plants. The buyout completes Trump's campaign promise to eliminate offshore wind development. The administration has now purchased roughly a dozen offshore wind leases, spending nearly $4 billion total on cancellations. The White House has released a report alleging that more than 40 countries have systematically helped Chinese manufacturers evade U.S. tariffs through transshipping, rerouting goods through nations with lower import duties to mask their true origin. Named countries include Canada, India, Mexico, Japan, and South Korea. According to the administration, the scheme involves repackaging goods and obscuring their origin through paperwork. A White House official described the practice as fraud cloaked in paperwork. The U.S. deployed artificial intelligence tools to identify suspicious shipment patterns. Officials say the evasion has cost American workers and the federal government tens of billions of dollars. The report's release precedes a September meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Washington. President Donald Trump has endorsed Republican Komatireddy for New York Attorney General, a race targeting incumbent Democrat Letitia James. Trump announced the endorsement Friday on his Truth Social platform, calling Komatireddy an America First patriot. Komatireddy brings substantial federal law enforcement experience, having served as Chief of Staff at the Drug Enforcement Administration and as a federal prosecutor. Trump nominated her to a federal district court seat in 2020, though she was not confirmed. The endorsement carries personal significance for Trump, who was sued by James in 2022 over asset valuation allegations. A financial penalty initially reaching nearly $465 million was later eliminated by an appeals court. Republicans have rarely been competitive in statewide New York races, making this a symbolic challenge. The general election is scheduled for November 2026. Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo declared a state of emergency Monday for Washoe County and the Reno-Sparks Indian Colony as the Bug and Fred mountain fires expanded rapidly across the region. More than 6,000 residents have been evacuated, with thousands more under evacuation warning. The fires have affected schools, power lines, natural gas infrastructure, a water treatment facility, the local airport, and telecommunications sites. The emergency declaration, effective through August 17th, mobilizes state resources and clears the path for federal assistance. FEMA authorized federal funds for the bug fire response, covering up to 75% of eligible firefighting costs through a fire management assistance grant. Evacuation centers have been established to shelter displaced residents as fire behavior continues to evolve. President Trump signed an executive order Monday instructing the Attorney General to pursue legal action against 4 states that prohibit religious and personal belief exemptions from childhood vaccines. California, Connecticut, Maine, and New York currently require all students to be vaccinated for public school attendance or face exclusion. All 50 states mandate certain vaccines, and all permit medical exemptions. However, 46 states, plus Washington, D.C., allow parents to opt out on religious or personal belief grounds. The 4 targeted states maintain vaccination rates exceeding 95%. Maine Governor Janet Mills responded by stating the state will continue to follow the science and facts. The move comes as measles cases reach their highest level since 1991, driven primarily by outbreaks in states that permit exemptions. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has approved a permit for Enbridge to construct a 4-mile tunnel beneath Michigan's Straits of Mackinac, replacing dual pipelines that have operated since the 1950s. The $500 million project aims to reduce the risk of oil and natural gas spills in the Great Lakes by burying the Line 5 pipeline segment beneath the lake bed rather than leaving it exposed on the surface. Lt. Col. Donald K. Liu, the Corps' Detroit District Commander, stated the approval culminates a robust evaluation process. However, 7 tribal nations have withdrawn as cooperating agencies in opposition, and legal challenges are expected from tribal nations and environmental groups. The Michigan Supreme Court has also ordered the state's Public Service Commission to reconsider its tunnel permit. A new study reveals that Oregon's passage of Measure 114 in 2022 triggered a dramatic surge in firearm purchases, despite the law never taking effect. Researchers from Oregon State University, University of Oregon, and the National Bureau of Economic Research analyzed background check data and found that checks jumped 157% immediately after voters approved the measure by a 1.3% margin. The law imposes a permit requirement, mandates firearm safety training, bans high-capacity magazines, and requires universal background checks. An estimated 63,000 additional background checks occurred in the year and a half following the election that would not have happened otherwise. Measure 114 remains blocked by legal challenge and is not permitted to take effect until 2028 if the Oregon Supreme Court upholds it. Connecticut held Democratic primary elections on August 11th to select nominees for governor and a U.S. House seat. In the gubernatorial race, incumbent Governor Ned Lamont faced Josh Elliott, marking the only statewide primary challenge in either party this cycle. Public polling showed Lamont maintaining a substantial advantage. The first congressional district primary featured a more crowded field, with U.S. Representative John B. Larson seeking his 15th term against 4 challengers, including Luke Braunen, who secured the party's convention endorsement. Larson is the first Connecticut congressman to face a primary challenge while serving as incumbent in nearly 3 decades. As of Monday, approximately 8% of Connecticut's active Democrats had cast ballots via absentee or early in-person voting. A 20-year-old Indian national has been arrested in Germany after a 19-year-old Arizona woman was found dead near the University of Arizona campus. Julissa Ruby Salazar was discovered unresponsive in an apartment Thursday following a welfare check by her family. First responders noted signs of trauma at the scene. Varun Bachagari boarded a flight to India from Tucson International Airport the same day Salazar was found. German authorities, coordinating with U.S. law enforcement, arrested him upon arrival. Bachagari has been charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping and is awaiting extradition to Arizona, where he will face prosecution. That's the week from the American Star News. For complete coverage of every story in this briefing, visit theamericanstarnews.com and subscribe so you never miss the weekly review.